Hola mi gente, welcome back to Cat and Too Many Books. I'm Kat, and I am going to share a little secret with you. I have this really terrible reading habit, and that is that I begin series and never end them. And I know I think that's something a lot of us share, but I'm determined to try to not begin any new series this year until I've read some of my old series, either finished, because I have quite a few that I'm on the last book. So if I were to read that, I'm done with the series, and or try to advance in the series, at least by one book, So I want to do that before I start into any new series. So I got myself the books, and there are 25. I picked 25. There might be more, but I stopped at 25. There are 25 series. 25. So yeah. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to look at the 25 series that I would like to either finish or make a little bit of a movement on this year. So I've got myself my little cocoa in one of my favorite cups. This was my mom's cup, so it's very precious to me. I love the color, of course, pink. It's one of my favorites. I've got my little hot chocolate, and we're just gonna get into this. I'm not gonna spend too much time on these. A lot of these you will have known because I've had them on my TBR for 7, 8 years. I mean, it's been a while since I had some of these on my TBR. Yeah, so let's just get into it. So I'm going to start with the ones that I will finish this year. If I read these books, I will be done with these series. So let's work on those that I am just one book away from concluding the series, or the duology. I consider duologies a series because there's more than one book, and I always tend to stop at the first book. So for me, the duologies I put under series as well, even if technically maybe they aren't. I think they are to me, whatever. So because some of these are trilogies, so I mean, are those considered series? They are. So duologies should be as well. So I do consider them. That's just my explanation why I have quite a few duologies in here. So yeah, let's get started on the books that I can finish, like the series / duologies I can finish this year if I read these books. So one of the first ones is finishing the Charlotte Holmes series, which is by Brittany Caballero or Cavallaro, which is A Question of Holmes. This is the last in this series. I think it's a 4th book. I don't think there's any more that's been written. I don't think there will be any more that will be written. Anyways, so yes, this is about Charlotte and Jamie, who are descendants of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. And they have a very complicated and complex relationship that's been over the last 3 books. The last book sort of really delved more into it, and I think we get to really see where they stand in this book, and maybe conclude with some loose threads that we've had. The second book was my favorite. I thought the second book was, wow. I did really enjoy that one. So yeah, we'll see how I feel about this, but this will be my concluding one. Another book, this was a huge one quite a few years back, and that would be Obsidio by Amie Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which is the final in the Illuminae Files series. I loved both of these. I loved Illuminae. I love Gemini more. I feel like the horror in Gemini was so much more. Like I remember being viscerally like about some of the stuff in that one. But Obsidio is, so the conclusion chapter, the 4 characters from the other 2 books reappear in here, and I do believe we meet 2 more characters in this one. We go back to the beginning where everything sort of started. And of course, this is told through mixed media format, which is one of my favorite because I like I've said before, I'm a big epistolatory person. I love reading books written in the form of letters. And of course, that includes emails. And in this, it's like emails, chats, like court documents, archive documents, transcripts, like web pages. Like it's really quite amazing, and I love it. Yeah, so I'm excited to conclude. I'm excited to see what happens to all my characters, all my favorite characters, and I've just been putting it off for too long. Next on my list is to finish A Darker Shade of Magic, the first series, because I know there's another one going on right now, which is A Conjuring of Light by E.V.E. Schwab. I've complicated relationship with this book. I don't like Delilah much. which is unfortunate. I really disliked her in the first book. She was tolerable in the second book, but I mostly love Kel and his brother and Alistair, and all the side characters are some of my favorite. I do really like the magic system. I think it's really intriguing. I like the sort of the story and the lore that V.E. Schwab built with this. So I am looking forward to the conclusion. I was really sort of heartbroken at the end of the second book for Cal, and I was a little mad. So I kind of took a step back from it and then never kind of went back to it, but I need to finish it because I want to. I don't think I'll be continuing in the new series. I don't feel that's aimed for me, because that one feels much more YA. I think this may have been YA, but it didn't feel like it. I don't think it's YA. Anyways, so I don't really know that I'll continue with that one, but I will finish this one. Next is The Night Country by Melissa Albert, which is the concluding chapter in the Hazelwood series. There's a third book, but that one is the Hinterland Tales. So the Hinterland Tales, which is just sort of a compilation of the fairy tales that we talk about in this book. I think that's just a collection of those fairy tales, so it doesn't really necessarily mean it's a series. It's just sort of a companion. So I don't count it. I do have it and I will read it, but I don't particularly count it as being part of a finalized series. This I count as the end of the duology. And then of course we are following our main character, who in the first book had to go into a different world that she thought was a book that she thought was about stories that weren't real, but they turned out to be real. She had to go find her mother. And she had a really big sort of role in that land that she didn't know about, and many things happened. I don't want to give away the books if you haven't read them, because I feel like that's better. But yeah, this is the duology, and this is the concluding chapter. This next one is one that I want to read so bad, but I'm really afraid of it. And that is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I loved Strange the Dreamer so much. And my best friend keeps pushing me and wanting me to read this because she says I'm going to love it. I know I am. I'm sure I am. But the first one was there's so much that happened, and I feel this one's going to hurt so much too. And I'm like, oh no. But it's a beautifully built world. And yeah, I want to continue on with it. And once it is a duology, like Laini Taylor has not written anything else and won't write anything else in this. So once I read this, I will be done with it. The next book I've talked about a couple of times, that's Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is the book 2 in the Sixth World series. I don't know that this is a duology for sure. I just know that Rebecca Roanhorse has not written anything else in this. And she started writing her Black Sun series, and that's concluded. So I was hoping maybe she would come back to this, but I have literally heard nothing about there being another book in the Sixth World series. I'm going to consider this a duology and say I'm done with it once I read Storm of Locust. Maggie and Kai are some of my favorites characters I've read in a long time. I love this like world gods and all of the like indigenous lore and indigenous like myths, and how like Roanhorse had like put them all together, and just the topic of like climate crisis, and how the Sixth World means this is the sixth generation of the world, meaning like there's always been something that made the world break, and then they have, sort of restarted it again. And it's just very good. This one, I believe Kai is involved in something and Maggie has to help him out of it. I feel like that's vaguely what this is about. Next, I have a duology. I read the first book for this a while ago. It's These Witches Don't Burn. So the next one and the ending of this is This Coven Won't Break by Isabel Sterling. This is about a young girl, Hannah, who has magical powers. Her family is a family of witches, and they are being hunted down by witch hunters, and she had to face off some witch hunters in the first book, and this is sort of the consequences of that and her burgeoning romance with Morgan, which is the girl she met in the first book, and what Hannah has to do to save the witches of the world, basically, I think is what this book is about. Next, and I don't know that this is the end of this series. I have not heard the authors say that they're going to write any more, but at the end of the second book that I just finished reading, she did say these characters' story would continue and not conclude in this book. So it's possible there's a fourth book. I'm not 100% sure about that. But the next one I have is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, book 3 of the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett. I don't know if this the conclusion of this series. I don't know if it's a trilogy. I have no idea, but I am going to read this. And at this moment, I will treat this as a conclusion and say when I'm done with this, which I am hoping to read next month. I'm going on a little vacation in March. When I finish, I'm going to take it on my little mini vacation and read it during the weekend that I'm going to be away because I love them so much. I really love Emily. I really love Wendell. I love them. I love them so much. So this is so enjoyable to me. It's so much fun. And I'm not someone who's into fairy at all. I've never been big into it, but this is one of the best books I've ever had because I feel like the fae are portrayed correctly in this. And I feel like I love that. I love that so much. Also, Wendell is sunshine. Emily is grumpy logic, and I love them. And finally, for the ones that I'm going to read this year to conclude the series, so when I read these, I will be done with the series. That's going to be book 2 and book 3 of the Final Empire series. Do we call it the Final Empire, or is it called Mistborn? No, the Mistborn series, right? Yeah. It was originally called Mistborn, and then it's called the Final Empire. Anyways, the book 2 and book 3 in the Mistborn series, I read the First Empire a while back. I loved it. I loved it so much. It literally was one of my favorite books. I went to that book so much. I genuinely enjoyed it. I really, really love Brandon Sanderson's writing. It's not flawless, but it is really good. And he really is readable, and he really pulls you into his world. I liked the magic system, the alchemy magic system that he has in it. And I know that this is really important if I want to begin reading any of the his other series in the Cosmoverse. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish these 2 this year. So I will be reading The Well of Ascension, which is book 2, and The Hero of Ages, which is book 3. That will be following Vin and Elend from the first book. I do hope we get to continue with our group of thieves, found family that she found, and that I get to see them more because I really loved those characters. I enjoyed Vin a lot. I grew to really like her and love her in the first book, and I liked Elend a lot. He was very interesting. So I'm looking forward to how their stories kind of conclude. So now I'm going to talk about the ongoing series that I have. So the ones that these are either series that aren't finished, or I'm on like book 2 out of 4 or something. So I still would need more books to finish the series, but I'm not committing to reading more than one book in each of these if I read one book. Okay. So let me start with some of the ones I have here. Book 2 of the Raven Cycle, which is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This book focuses on Rowan, but I do know that all my favorite characters come back, and we find out more about the ley lines and more about the king. And I sort of already know kind of what happens, but I really want to read it anyway because I only know vaguely things that happen. So this would be book 2 in that series. Don't come at me. This series is so old. But I didn't actually find it till way later because I didn't really know about it until way later. So I think I found this in like 2017 and started to sort of read it, but have not really made much headway. And that is the Lunar Chronicles. So I read Cinder quite a few years ago. And I would like to now pick up Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. It is book 2 in the Lunar Chronicles. It is basically the retelling of Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. I do believe Big Bad Wolf is a shapeshifter. And it's sort of connected to Cinder. So I think we will see Cinder and Kai. That was the name of, I think, the gentleman in the first one. In this. But this is lovely. I really like this covers in this particular one. So I'm excited to read about Scarlet and see where this one goes, because I really found what Marissa Meyer has done with the retelling really, really interesting. I love the sci-fi aspects. I love the little bit of steampunk aspects it almost seems to have. And yeah, so here we go. Next, I have a book that you will see the reason why I haven't read it yet. Not because I didn't love the first book. I really did. The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter was one of my favorite books of the year that I read it. It might have been back in 2018 or something like that, 2019. It was one of my favorite books. And so I have the second book in that series, which is European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman by Theodore Goss. The basic premise of this is the characters in these are the daughters of horror icons. So like Frankenstein's daughter, Dr. Moreau's daughter, Jekyll and Hyde's, maybe Dracula's, I don't remember. But definitely like they're daughters of these like iconic classic horror monsters. Sherlock and Watson are also in this. They were in the first ones. I'm not sure if they'll be in the second one. And the girls form a group. They were trying to solve the murder of somebody. And it was really good. And so the second one came out and I wanted to read it, but she's a bit thick. She's a big one. So I kind of put it off because I think this is nearly 800 pages. It's like 700 pages. It's a really long book. So I've kind of put it off, but I feel like I need to get into it because I already have the third book and I would actually like to read that as well. So yeah, this is going to be definitely one that I will read this year of the series that are ongoing. Next, I have Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the sequel of Children of Blood and Bone, which I read quite a bit ago, and I really loved Children of Blood and Bone. I have a complicated relationship with some of the characters in it, but I really love Amari and Zeely, and I'm really looking forward to find out what happened with them after the end of the last books. There was so much that was going on. Especially Amari. I love her so much. She might be my favorite. Zeely's also high on that list of favorites in this. And there's a third book coming out this year because I have it on my the most anticipated of the year sort of list. So I want to get into this one before that one comes out. And I also know that there's a movie or TV series coming out, or maybe series of movies coming out for the first one. So I really would like to be done with the whole series if possible, but at least this book before that movie comes out and that series starts. So next on the list will be this one for that series. Another series I sort of have a complicated relationship with, and that would be the Caraval series. So I would like to read Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is Donatella's story. So the first story was Scarlet, and I actually loved Scarlet a lot. Scarlet and Jack were really interesting. And Donatella wasn't, I sort of liked her but disliked her, but I think it's good because I'll be able to really get to know her better in this book. And again, complicated feelings about characters, which I like having complicated feelings about characters because characters written well should be complex and you shouldn't necessarily agree with everything. But you know, you can like unlikable characters. So this is Donatella. Yeah. So Donatella's story. Continuing on. Next, I have one of my sort of favorite series to read. It's sort of like cozy fantasy / mystery kind of series that I really love. And that is the next in the Jacobi series, which is Ghostly Echoes. I think it's book 3 by William Ritter. I really love Jacobi. It's kind of funny, but like good mystery. It's a lot of fun. I really love Abby, which most of the stories are told through sort of Abby's perspective. And she is a woman who comes to Jacobi to become his assistant. And what I love that William Ritter did is he did not start a romance between the two of them. I love that so much. There's nothing wrong with it, but I love seeing something different in books. And though they become close, she is just his assistant. She has a sort of little romance thing on the side with a shapeshifter, kind of, and he is in love with, I think it's not been said directly, but I think he's actually in love with Jenny, which is the ghost that resides in his house. She was murdered. This book is about Jenny, Ghostly Echoes. I think we get to find out what happens to Jenny because at the end of book 2, this huge thing happened at the end. It was kind of a bit of a cliffhanger. And so I think we get to pick up on that and find out finally what happened to Jenny. And I think we get more clarification on his feelings for her and probably her feelings for him and how that's going to be a thing because she's dead. But anyway, yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to this one. Next, I will be reading, I have this book. I just couldn't find it. I have no idea why. I found the third book, but I didn't find the second book anywhere. It is here somewhere. I swear it is. It is. I keep looking for it. I know I have it somewhere. Late night editing cat here to say that I knew I had it. Here it is. But it is A Perilous Undertaking, which is the next in the Veronica Speedwell series. I love Veronica Speedwell. I loved the first book. I loved A Curious Beginning. I love Stoker. I love Veronica. Their relationship makes me laugh. I know it's super slow burn, which I adore. I love murder mysteries. And so I'm excited to go into this because this is going to be one of those like fun, sort of lighthearted things that I read in between like reading other books when I need like a bit of a palate cleanser or something. This would be something I would pick up. So I'm going to start on A Perilous Undertaking, and I also have A Treacherous Curse here. So I have those two already at hand. I may get into A Treacherous Curse as well if I really get into the second one. I might try to read the third one, and then we'll decide what to do after that because I think there's like 6, 7, 8. I don't even know how many we have now. We have a bunch. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 books. So yeah, we want to get rolling on this. So hopefully I will read these 2 coming up. Next, this wasn't supposed to be a series, but it is now a series. It is one of my favorite books, The House in the Cerulean Sea. I didn't think it was going to be a series, but it ended up being a series. So I'm going to go ahead and read Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune, which continues the story of Arthur and Linus and the wonderful, beautiful children. I think the third book I heard was going to be about Lucy, so that's going to be exciting. I think this tells us more about Arthur's backstory and what happened to him. And I think we also look a little bit more into a couple of the other characters that we met. So the house in the Cerulean Sea was just so cozy, and it felt like a warm hug, and I'm hoping this is kind of the same vibe. Next, I have the second in the Primas of Power series, which is A Lot Like Adios by Alexa Daria. This is Michelle and Gabriel. This is the series about these cousins who all have like a romance in this. The first one was You Had Me at Hola, which I loved because I'm a huge soap opera fan, and it was all about a novela. It was all about a soap opera sort of like thing, and the 2 main characters were the 2 leads, and it was just, I liked it. And then this one's a second chance romance with these 2 people that were best friends when they were younger, and their chance was sort of stolen a little bit, and so now this is their second chance. And I am a big friends to lovers, second chance romance kind of person. So excited about this one. So I want to read this series, even though I've seen all the movies this series has had made. I watched all 3 of them, but I really want to go back and read the books because, as always, there's much more detail in the books that I wouldn't have seen in the movies. And I really enjoyed the movies, and I enjoyed the first book. So I want to read the second in the Maze Runner series, which is The Scorched Trials by James Dashner. And yeah, I'm sort of wanting to kind of get into it. I mean, I already know sort of what happens because I watched all 3 movies. So I kind of obviously know sort of what happens, but I know there's a lot of details that they change and extra stuff that I would get from reading the books. And I really enjoyed the movie series, so I figure I will probably enjoy the book series as well. Next one I have is Mistletoe and Murder by Robin Stevens, which is the next in A Murder Most Unladylike Mystery. I think this is book 4. No, 5. This is book 5. It's set, I think, at Christmas. So I'm going to read it in July for my Christmas in July thing that I'm going to be doing this year. So I'm going to be reading it in July, Mistletoe and Murder, again by Robin Stevens. This is the story of Hazel and Daisy. They are girls in a boarding school. This is set in the 1930s. And they form a detective agency, and they are always solving these murders that keep happening, which is not good. But he's solving all these murders and things like that. They're about middle grade age, a little bit more. Now I think they're getting to like high school age, but it's a middle grade book in my opinion, middle grade slash YA kind of. Yeah, I really really enjoy them, and I really enjoy their stories. I didn't love some of the stuff happening between the two of them in the last book, but I did love the mystery in the last book, and I do like how they resolved their issues in the last book. So I'm kind of excited to see where they are in this one and who we will get to see, because there's a lot of different side characters that I enjoy. And I think the next one that I have physically with me, and then I have a couple other ones that I don't have all the books physically with me, but I want to continue on in the series. And the next one, or the last one I have physically, is the next in the Diviner series, which is Layer of Dreams by Leva Bray. I really enjoyed the Diviners so much. I'm a huge fan of the era this is set in, the 1920s. I love horror. This is very horror inclined, very fantasy. It's, these 17-year-olds who all have these different powers that they don't know where they came from or what they're supposed to do with it. They are supposed to face the end of the world together and stop it from happening. There's a ton of characters that I love in here. I've been very sort of reticent about reading it because I know certain things happen with certain characters. There's like a pairing that I don't particularly care for, and I think some stuff is done with one of my favorite characters to facilitate this pairing that I don't particularly care for. So I'm gonna be a little bit about it, but I actually love so many of the characters that I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and just continue to read. And to be fair, like the villain of the first book is one of the scariest villains I've read, really, to be honest. He was scary as could be. So I'm really intrigued to find out, because he wasn't the big bad of this story. So I'm a little like, ooh, what's the actual huge villain going to be like? So, yes, this is the next one I'm going to pick up in that series. I have now 4 more that I want to talk about. I don't have these on hand, but I will be getting them from the library. And of course, I have a plan of getting these in physical format eventually. I just haven't actually done that. So the next one that I'm going to continue in is Murder at Midnight by Catherine Shulman, which is book 4 in the Lily Adler mysteries. I read book 3 in January, and then I decided not to. Well, I read book 3 in. Did I read in December, maybe. January. I was trying to read it so I could read Murder at Midnight during Christmas, but I never got to it. So I read 3, I think, in December, and I'm going to be reading book 4 in July, because again, I'm going to do something with Christmas in July. So it's set in Christmas time. Captain Jack has returned, which makes me so excited because he's like one of my favorite characters. So to have Lily, Ophelia, and Jack all kind of hanging out together and be able to solve mysteries will make my day. I do think that my ship in this next book gets a little bit more, so I'm excited about that too. And I just love this like cozy murder mystery. I mean, it's set in the like 19th century. I quite enjoy Lily. I think she's a really kind of fun character, and yeah, I'm just excited for this next one. After that, I am going to read the second in the Lady Hardcastle series. I read it a bit ago by T.E. Kinsey. I read this a while ago and I didn't love it. I felt like the ending was rushed, but I like the characters enough that I want to give it another chance. So I figured I could try the next book. It has like 10 books in the series, so there's got to be something going on. But I did enjoy Lady Hardcastle, and I loved Florence, and I loved their whole thing, and I loved the whole spy aspect of everything. They're so much fun. They're so eccentric. And I know like a lot of stuff happens in the village, and the village becomes like such a deep part of the whole series. And so many of the characters in the village you come to kind of love. And so I sort of want to give the next book a chance. Because again, I did really like the characters. I feel like the pacing of the first book was a little weird. And so I'm hoping maybe like as the writing goes on, it just sort of, the pacing gets a little bit better. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give this next one a try. Now, for a while, I I'm a person who really likes Agatha Christie, but my actual favorite British crime writer of that time and era was P.D. James. I love the Dalgleish series. I've been reading it for a while now. I am currently on book 7, so I want to read book 7, which is a taste for death. And I think Dalgleish has to solve a double murder. So I love Dalgleish. She's such a complex character. I actually was thinking that this year I wanted to finish the whole series. So she wrote 14 books for that featured Dalgleish. I'm on book 7. So I was thinking up for the second half of the year, I would try to read the rest of it. But also I'm like, do I want to end up reading all of them just this year? So my conclusion was Dalgleish has been turned into, so this series has been turned into a show on Amazon Prime, and 2 series have come out, 3 movies each, so like 3 long, almost 2-hour episodes each, featuring 1 book. So they've done 6 books. I've read all 6 books that they've done. So what I wanted to do is kind of figure out what 3 books they're going to do for this 3rd series, which they are doing, and then make sure that I've read those 3 books before I watch the series. So that may mean that I only have to read the next 3 books in the series, or I may have to read a bunch of books to get to wherever they're going in the series. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so A Taste for Death by P.D. James. That's the next one in the series that I'm going to tackle. The last one I want to talk about is the series that I've been reading for a little while too, and I love it. It's such a cozy mystery, so much fun. It is Burrell and Edwina mystery series, which the next one is Murder Comes to Call by Jessica Ellicott. Burrell and Edwina are 2 best friends who went to like boarding school together. Edwina is a very proper English woman who comes from this small village, and Beryl is an American who is sort of like a like she's almost like a, what would you call her? Like an it girl of the times. This is set in the 1920s too, but kind of like an it girl, or she's very much like I guess like a celebrity from her adventures and things like that. I don't know how to call it. She's not an influencer, but like sort of not necessarily like an actress or anything, just a well-known celebrity because she does like really cool things, like climbs mountains and is like, you know, rubs elbows with princes and like royalty and flies planes. Like she's very cool. And she and Beryl are so different, but they are like so lovely together and have such a wonderful sort of rapport. And yeah, I enjoy their mysteries. They're very kind of low stakes. I mean, there's murders, but it's not like, you know, not super tension filled a lot. You have a really good time watching them sort of figure them out. So it feels almost like Murder, She Wrote, but with 2 people and set in the 20s. So yeah. So those were, oh my gosh, this is really long. I didn't think it was going to be this long. Those are all the series that I have in here that I want to talk. Well, I'm not going to tackle all of these. I am going to try really hard to finish those that I'm in the concluding books of, so that I can wipe those series off of my sort of TBR thing and open myself to being able to read new series. That's important, right? Because I have a couple of new series that I'm going to start reading because I want to start reading them, and I need to sort of get rid of some of my other series. So, but yeah, that was it. Those are the 25 series. I'm sure I have more somewhere. I just didn't bother trying to find them. And I hope to read them very, very soon. And get into it. And yeah, that's all I have. Let me know if any of these are series that you've read and you recommend reading one over the other first. If you're working on a series, do you have series that you want to finish? Leave it in the comments, or if you have a video where you're talking about the series you want to finish or try to finish or tackle this year, please link me to your video. And that's it for this week. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. As always, like, comment, subscribe if you can. That really helps. And yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you guys have a wonderful end of February, and I will see you next time.